The Council on American Islamic Relations, known as CAIR, released guidelines for, quote, flying while Muslim for American Muslims making the pilgrimage to Mecca. This after 6 imams were removed from a U.S. Airways flight after passengers and flight attendants were alarmed by their behavior. The airline investigation found that there was no ethnic or racial profiling, but the imams are not satisfied. With us now, Arsalan Iftikhar, the National Legal Director for CAIR. Hey, Arsalan.
How you doing, Laura?
Okay, what are airlines and flight attendants supposed to do when a number of passengers are visibly distressed and concerned about behavior of certain people on a plane?
Well, you know, obviously in the post-9/11 world that we live in, it's a very valid concern. And obviously we think that the whole situation with the U.S. Airways case, it revolves around a lack of understanding and education about Muslims and Islam. And anyone who knows anything about Islam 101 knows that Muslims pray 5 times a day.
Right, but why haven't we had this problem before? I mean, we have millions of Muslims living in the United States, and I can tell you, my radio listeners, many of them Muslim, by the way, in Detroit, Ann Arbor, that area, they say, well, it seems like someone was trying to provoke something here. Was someone trying to provoke an incident to spark public outrage, to spark a debate?
I don't think so. I think that obviously in the post-9/11 world that we live in, we've become ultra-sensitive to
security.
Not only security, but to things that might be deemed suspicious behavior when in actuality it's just, you know, run-of-the-mill, you know, common religious practice. And so, you know, I don't think there's any sort of conspiracy here. I just think that it was, you know, a lack of education in terms of the situation.
Okay, I'm Catholic, and let's say a number of Catholics were on a U.S. Airways flight and stood up and started, you know, really loudly praying the rosary. And there are other people who would dance while they're doing a religious service or speaking in tongues or, you know, screaming, repent, repent. If you were Muslim or you're Christian, you're Buddhist, I don't care what you are, if you're in a plane and you're disrupting the security procedures of a plane or making people nervous, that's not profiling, that's just common sense.
Well, they were not praying on the plane, and that's some initial media reports that stated that. They were actually praying in...
They were moving seats, though, right?
No, they were actually praying in an adjacent gate in the airport. They weren't moving seats, they were...
I understand that, but they were asking for seatbelt extenders, which had been in the past. I know there might be valid reasons for having seatbelt extenders, although I didn't think any of them were overweight.
Well, I mean, they had bellies as big as Santa Claus.
Well, ho, ho, ho. They didn't think it was very funny, though, at the airlines, because a couple of the seatbelt extenders were put under the seats. It seemed odd, and in the past, seatbelts had been connected, blocking the aisle on planes, and could be used to stop people from, you know, going after terrorists. And I think people are concerned. When you step on board an aircraft today, post-9/11 world, it's not about protecting your free speech rights, Arsalan. It is about protecting your safety and the safety of thousands of Americans on the ground. And I would just say to you that I think that CAIR is doing a disservice to Muslims who are they're flying all the time. They're not having any problems by creating this victim status that I don't think really exists.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, I would have to disagree with you on that. After 9/11, we've seen a great increase in the number of discrimination complaints against the American Muslim community. To get back to your point about, for example, the seatbelt extenders, you know, had it been a white woman who had left her seatbelt extended underneath the seat, I don't think that anyone would have found it to be anything out of the ordinary.
A number of people together, traveling together, who, in the minds of some passengers, exhibited conduct that would raise a red flag. I'm going to tell you something. I'm on a plane and that happens. I'm writing a note to the stewardess, too. And it's nothing against, you know, Muslims or Catholics or anyone who's making a disturbance or doing things that are out of the ordinary. And I would just say that we all have to be vigilant today. And I think CAIR would be, you know, would get a lot of support from people if they actually stood up for security. Obviously, don't mistreat anybody. Don't go out of your way to mistreat people. Certainly, profiling people, I don't think that was done.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, CAIR, as the largest American Muslim advocacy and civil rights group in the country, has held numerous press conferences with federal law enforcement agencies. And one last thing is that, you know, we have to understand that it's
a hard issue. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We really apologize. You'll be back on my radio show soon. Thanks, Mr. Iftikhar.
Thank you, Laura.